It was supposed to be a routine red-eye flight from Istanbul to Berlin, Flight 912. A late-night journey carrying businessmen, students, and families sleeping beneath dimmed cabin lights. The sky was clear, the route direct, and the flight plan uneventful. But this night was different. Sitting in the co-pilot seat was Andreas Keller, 34 years old, calm, well-liked, professional to everyone who met him, tall, sharp-featured, and meticulous in his work. But there was something else about Andreas that no one on that flight knew. Andreas wasn't just a co-pilot tonight. He was on a mission. Captain Hermann Klaus had flown with Andreas twice before and thought highly of him. To him, Andreas was steady and polite, always precise with checklists, always sharp on landings. But tonight, as they climbed past 30,000 feet, Hermann noticed something strange. Andreas seemed distracted, not nervous, not fearful, focused, calculating. His eyes flicked to the instrument panel every few seconds. He wasn't checking speed or altitude. He was watching the small, secondary transponder system, the one rarely used unless for emergencies or alternate identification codes. The passengers behind them had no idea. Most of them were asleep. But in seat 14A, a man named Victor Marin sat awake. Victor wasn't on the official passenger manifest. His identity was fake. His boarding pass obtained through careful planning. His real job, monitor Andreas Keller. Victor was part of a special counterintelligence unit working with European aviation security. 2 days before the flight, they'd received a classified tip that something was going to happen on Flight 912. Not terrorism, not a bomb, something quieter, more precise. A pilot was going to divert the plane mid-flight, not to hijack it, but to rendezvous with another aircraft for an unknown exchange. No one knew which pilot. No one knew why. Just the name of one of the flight crew, Andreas Keller.
As the plane soared over the Black Sea, far from radar reach of standard European control, Captain Hermann leaned back slightly and stretched his arms. Andreas used that moment to switch on the second transponder channel. It was subtle, just a flick of a small black switch, well hidden in a maze of controls. But to those who knew where to look, it was unmistakable. The signal being sent was an alternate squawk code, a digital signature not meant for regular traffic. 30 seconds later, a blip appeared on the radar. Small, fast, closing in from the east. Andreas calmly reached for the comms, but not the main frequency. He used a secure channel, one the average pilot wouldn't even know existed. "This is Nomad, requesting confirmation," he said quietly, his German accent crisp but low. A reply crackled through the headset. "Confirmation received. Target acquired. Proceed with Phase 2. Hermann frowned, not hearing the response. "What was that, Andreas?" Before Andreas could answer, Victor stood from seat 14A, flashing his badge discreetly to the nearest flight attendant. Wordlessly, the attendant opened the cockpit door, a breach of protocol, but tonight protocol was already broken. The door swung open, and Victor stepped inside.
Andreas didn't even flinch. He glanced at Victor, and for the first time, smiled. Not warmly, but like someone who's been caught, but doesn't mind. "You're early," Andreas said flatly. Captain Herman spun in his seat. What the hell is going on? The approaching aircraft, a sleek, black jet with no markings, was visible now on radar, coming from Russian airspace, but flying dark. No beacon, no radio communication on standard frequencies. Victor drew a small pistol, holding it low against his thigh. I don't want to kill anyone, he said, but we're diverting course now. Andreas calmly kept his hands on the controls. That's not your decision. I'm not hijacking this plane. I'm trading it. Trading it? For what? Not for what, for who. Victor's eyes narrowed. Intelligence reports hadn't said anything about people being involved. Below, on the cargo manifest, was something unusual. A single diplomatic crate, unmarked, sealed by request of a foreign embassy. Supposedly standard. But it wasn't. Inside that crate was a defector, a Russian intelligence agent smuggled out of Istanbul, hidden in plain sight. The approaching black jet wasn't here to hijack the plane or crash it. It was here to take that crate in mid-air using advanced aerial retrieval equipment, a plan crafted months earlier by foreign operatives. Andreas Keller wasn't the mastermind. He was the facilitator, a double agent, trained pilot, paid not to harm the passengers, but to deliver the cargo. But now, with Victor here, the plan was unraveling. Below them, the black jet positioned itself carefully. A thin cable extended upward, attached to a retrieval drone designed to latch on to the cargo bay of Flight 912 without damaging the aircraft. It was the kind of operation that belonged in spy movies, not real life. But here it was, happening over the Black Sea, under the cover of darkness. Captain Herman sat frozen. His instinct screamed to radio for help, but the comms were jammed. Andreas spoke again. No one's going to die. I'm going to open the cargo hold, they'll take the crate, and I'll land in Berlin like nothing happened. You'll be a hero for discovering the plot. You'll get promotions. Me? I'll be gone before the paperwork catches up. But Victor wasn't going to let that happen.
With a sudden movement, Victor lunged forward, not at Andreas, but at the secondary transponder. He flipped the switch off. Immediately, the radar signal to the approaching jet vanished. The black jet hesitated, lost visual confirmation, and began to drift off course. Andreas grabbed the yoke, ready to manually realign the plane to make the pickup possible. But Captain Herman finally snapped out of his shock. With a burst of strength, he rammed his shoulder into Andreas, sending both men sprawling in the tight cockpit. The plane lurched. Passengers screamed awake. Warning lights blinked across the console. Victor pressed his advantage. He reached into the control panel and triggered the emergency beacon, an encrypted distress call only accessible to intelligence services. Within moments, NATO listening posts in Eastern Europe received the signal, triangulating Flight 912's position. The black jet broke away, diving for the horizon, running for Russian airspace before intercept fighters could reach it. Inside the cockpit, Andreas sat slumped in the co-pilot's seat, breathing heavily, realizing it was over. Not just the mission, his entire life. Everything planned, lost in the span of 60 frantic seconds. When Flight 912 landed in Berlin hours later, police and intelligence agents swarmed the aircraft. Passengers never fully understood what had happened. Just rumors of a possible hijacking or an attempted robbery. The official report said mechanical issues with the communication system. But Victor knew the truth. Andres was taken away in handcuffs, his diplomatic handlers nowhere to be found. their jet long gone over international lines. In the weeks that followed, quiet diplomatic exchanges buzzed between embassies. The crate was opened under armed guard, and what was inside? A hard drive, encrypted, loaded with files on deep espionage operations running through Europe, enough to shake governments if leaked. The media never got the real story. As for Andres, no one knows where he ended up. Some say he's in a classified detention facility. Others believe he was quietly exchanged in a spy trade deal months later. And for Victor, he boarded another plane 2 days later, on another mission, another name, blending back into the endless machinery of hidden wars fought behind passports, smiles, and boarding passes. Sometimes the most dangerous threats don't hijack planes with guns or bombs. Sometimes they just sit quietly in the co-pilot's seat, smiling.
While the story of the co-pilot's secret mission is fiction, it's inspired by very real operations from the hidden world of espionage. Throughout modern history, the skies have often been used as battlegrounds, not with weapons, but with secrets. One of the most famous incidents was the case of Matthias Rust in 1987, a German teenager who illegally flew a small plane into Soviet airspace and landed near Red Square in Moscow. His flight exposed serious gaps in Russian air defense, but, more importantly, it proved that the sky itself could be used to embarrass, provoke, or spy on nations. There are also documented cases of defectors being smuggled on commercial flights. Intelligence agencies have long used seemingly ordinary routes to transport high-value assets. In the Cold War, both the CIA and KGB were known to forge documents and arrange flights for defectors escaping Eastern Europe. Another real-world example is the mysterious case of Victor Bout, an international arms dealer whose secretive flights through Africa and Middle East eventually led to his capture in a sting operation. But what about aircraft rendezvous in mid-air? While aerial refueling is common for military planes, mid-air extractions or exchanges like the one in this story remain in the realm of speculative fiction. However, with advances in drone technology and the increasing sophistication of covert operations, some experts believe that ideas like these may not be as far-fetched as they once sounded. Covert espionage isn't always about car chases and hidden cameras. Sometimes it's about subtle actions, like a co-pilot flipping a hidden switch. We so much air traffic crossing borders every minute, who's to say what's truly flying overhead? What do you think? Could something like the co-pilot's secret mission actually happen? With the number of secret intelligence operations happening worldwide and the hidden stories we never get to read about in the news, could it already have happened? We want to hear your theories. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever heard about real spy operations happening on commercial flights? Or do you have another case you want us to explore in the next video? If you love uncovering hidden stories from the world of espionage, mystery, and real unsolved events, make sure to hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and like this video to support the channel. Remember, the world of spies doesn't just happen in war zones or dark alleys. Sometimes it's right above your head, cruising at 35,000 feet. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay sharp, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.